This week on Capitol Report.
Meet George Jepsen.
Hold on, folks. It's pronounced Jepsen.
I am honored to accept your nomination to be our next Attorney General. Thank you.
Time flies. The Attorney General says no thanks to a third term.
I'm looking forward to what the next chapter is that we're going to write.
Also, a familiar face considers getting into the 2018 race for governor.
I'm a business guy. I know that it's business people that create jobs.
You know, whenever I see an opportunity now, I charge it like a bull. Ned the Bull, that's me now.
Plus, a no for Joe on getting access to campaign cash.
This won't, at the end of the day, be determined necessarily by money.
Really? I commend you.
And Governor Malloy already dreaming about summer.
And quite frankly, when you think about porta potties in the summer heat, it's relatively disgusting.
Life's a beach. Capitol Report starts now. Welcome to Capitol Report. I am Tom Dutchick, and we are so glad that you are spending a little bit of your Sunday morning with us. And the power panels, we kick around Connecticut politics. Jen Snyder, Communication Director for 1199. Roy Occhiogrosso, Managing Director for Global Strategy Group. Jody Latina, Chief of Staff for the Britain Mayor Aaron Stewart. And the big dog's back on set, Chris Healy.
And I'm just managing.
There you go, you're just managing, guys. Let's get to it. This week, a surprise from the Connecticut Attorney General George Jepsen. Jepsen dropped a bomb last Monday saying he will not run for a third term in the AG's office. Jepsen's decision catching more than a few off guard. Watch this.
Next year I'll be 64. At 64, I'm still young enough to write a new and different chapter for my life and look for other opportunities. And I think that those opportunities would be greater and more varied than if I made the same decision 4 years from now. No, I'm not looking to run for higher office. I have no health issues, and this decision, the issue kind of arose out of my, midsummer when I had already announced that I was not running for governor.
Jepsen's well liked on both sides of the aisle, and 2018 will mark the end of an era for Jepsen, Nancy Wyman, and Dan Malloy. Guys, this is kind of an easy question. So what is Jepsen's legacy?
A decent guy, well respected, well liked on both sides of the aisle, and a kind of low-key Attorney General.
Yeah, and can we just talk really quickly about the new race, kind of the way that's unfolding in 2018? We talk about the Trump effect all the time, and I think that this race specifically for AG is going to be the one that really has Trump on the spotlight.
Well, couldn't you say something nice about George first?
Yeah, he's great. He protects Connecticut citizens like Blumenthal. Let's move on.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll say this. He was a very effective legislator. He was an extremely effective Attorney General. The greatest thing he did was when he closed thousands of these open files that his predecessor, Dick Blumenthal, did and kept open. His Stasi-like files on businesses that he suspected of doing awful things. They never had any follow-through, but they never had any closure. And when George Jepsen, I think almost 6 months into his term, did that, that was a tremendous service to the people of this state, one that I know many Republicans were grateful for. And he's a good guy, he's an honest guy, and he was a partisan, but
Jody,
he never took it personally.
Jody, your turn to say nice things about George.
Well, I think that one thing that was very important, and it kind of lends itself to Chris's argument, is that he was 180 degrees different from Dick Blumenthal. Dick Blumenthal liked the camera all the time. George Jepsen is very subdued. He just does his job, he does it well, and he gives people confidence. And I think that, he's going to have a legacy of doing what that job required of him and protecting the citizens of Connecticut.
All right, so back to Jen's point as we kind of put a bow on.
She's already walking over the body. She's like stepping over the body.
Okay,
George, nice job.
Let's move on.
Okay,
we put a bow on George. Okay, now, it's going to be that's the interesting thing about this whole issue about George not running. No one expected this, so now everyone's jumping over everyone. Yeah. The question that I have for the panel is that, does it matter who's Attorney General?
Well, what I was saying before was that you really
see... So you're going to ignore my question, just go ahead.
No, because I was answering your question before. Good. That's how in sync we are, that I knew what you were going to ask. That you really see with Trump how attorneys generals across the state or across the country are really kind of this line of defense for a lot of his policies. You saw it with the travel ban, Democratic attorneys generals really blocking that, taking him to court. So I think that people are realizing now really more what attorneys generals do and kind of this new role they're playing in the Trump era.
I think you give him too much credit.
All right, so who do you see on the Republican horizon?
Rosa Rabimbis, it would be a great.
State representative from Naugatuck.
Yes. She's got the credentials for 10 years at the bar. She's very interested in family rights. Very attractive from the Valley, Portuguese background, got a good footprint around the state. She would be the leading candidate, I think, right now.
And Roy, Democrat.
Going to be a very crowded race. So William Tong has announced that he's exploring a race. There are some who think Chris Maddy might leave the governor's race and get into the Attorney General's race, and probably a few others. Some people think it's the best job in politics, so I think it's probably going to be the most crowded race.
Okay, speaking of crowded race, well, guess who's thinking about another stab at a run for governor? Ned Lamont. Remember Ned, the Greenwich businessman, lost Democratic nomination to Malloy, Roy's pal, in 2010, and lost a Senate race to Joe Lieberman in 2006. Now he's testing waters, saying he makes Connecticut great again. Guys, what do you think? We'll go to you first.
I think that there are a handful of people who every 4 years think about getting into the race, and we'll see if he does or not. He had a tough time the last time he ran.
But I think in his advantage, the two things, if you've run a campaign, the two most important things are name recognition and money, and he's going to come into the race with both of those. And in a field where no one's really distinguished themselves yet, that could be a foot up for him.
He also has no Malloy. Sorry, Roy. He has no Malloy baggage either, which is something he shares with Susan Bysowitz, so I still think will be the preeminent favorite if she gets into the race.
And kind of frames it as you had this choice between Malloy and Lamont originally, and some people feel, you know, a little disappointed by Malloy. Sorry, Roy. And maybe they made the wrong decision back then, so kind of maybe righting a wrong some Democrats might feel on that.
You know, he had name recognition, and he had about 5 times as much money as Dan Malloy did in 2010. He lost by 14 points.
That's true.
Chris, also this week, Oz Griebel decided he's testing the waters for Hartford Metro Alliance, and Peter Lamage went from exploratory to a candidate for governor. His campaign manager said, "We decided it was time to pull the trigger and give Connecticut a real conservative choice." Do we need a conservative choice in Connecticut?
Well, I certainly think we need a conservative, moderate choice in Connecticut. Certainly we've had a liberal, extreme liberal choice at the top and in the legislature, and I think over the time you've seen Republicans make conservative, moderate choices that have brought balance. I do think we need a conservative approach because the approach we've used in the past has brought us to where we are, and I think a lot of people are open to a different, significantly different manner of management.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Peter Lamage will not be the next governor.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, Bridgeport Mayor Joe Ganim.
Is that the question?
Okay, guys.
That was the question.
Bridgeport Mayor Joe. Once again, Mayor Ganim, another Democrat in the exploratory phase, will need to go exploring for campaign cash. On Wednesday, a federal judge denied Ganim's appeal to give him access to public campaign funds. Those funds are off limits to Ganim because a state law prevents ex-cons from getting access to those funds. Ganim is remaining calm about that decision. Watch this.
This won't, at the end of the day, be determined necessarily by money. I think what I've seen is people understand the challenges. They understand people that have experience like me, who know how to take on challenges like Connecticut has with budgets, who are willing to step up to the plate, not be afraid of those challenges. So at the end of the day, money's a factor. It's a huge factor. But it won't be the one that determines this campaign, regardless of which way we have to pursue it.
Jody, I'm not sure I agree with this decision. I mean, you know, if you agree with the second chance society, with what Governor Malloy is saying, I mean, come on, he's in the race, give him the money. Now he has to go and raise the money.
No, he's just going to join with Ned Lamont, self-funder, so the two of them are going to help each other out. I can't say what the judge was putting in his ruling because I haven't read it, but it would just seem to me that you break the law, you serve time in prison, why should you be available to taxpayer dollars like this? It just... common sense.
I disagree. As much as I would not vote for Joe Ganim, I think he has problems with credibility, he did complete his sentence. He did come back and won the trust of the people of Bridgeport, and he applied for a program that is supposed to have no issues about whatever. So I disagree with the choice, but I see no path for him. He can't get the appeal before the Second Circuit in time to turn it around. Even if they fell for it, I mean, they fell for it. If they approved for it, if they fell for it, he would still. What do you think? February, March at the earliest. Right. You know, I mean, it takes time to do that. Even if you come from a big city, and he has a pretty decent.
And he'll have to raise all that money himself now. And if he can't do it, that means his votes and Bridgeport's delegates would be in play.
Well, he's going to be a player no matter what happens. He always is, but he's definitely he and his trusty local party chief Mario Testa will definitely be there. That's the question.
He's a good retail politician.
Yeah,
I wouldn't underestimate him.
I think he's the biggest, the candidate who's traveled the state the most and talked to most people.
Over the course of more than 20 years, right? He's been out there. But I think he'd have a very hard time raising the money on his own.
All right, guys. Up next on Camp Report, healthcare in jeopardy for tens of thousands of Connecticut seniors. We'll discuss the issue with Chief Political Correspondent Mark Davis when we come back. Don't go away.